Welcome to the JWK show. We talk about what's happening in the crypto space and we keep things short and concise. Guys, big things going on in the crypto space, in the Ripple world, and this is what we needed. We have Justin, U.S. judge imposes sanctions on SEC for acting in bad faith and abusing power in a case against the crypto firm Debtbox. So this is what happened. We have from Stu Elorati, who is the chief legal officer at Ripple, and he says, today a federal court sanctioned the SEC for abusing its unique status to present evidence that was false, mischaracterized, and or misleading. Right, so this is not new information. We have more corruption going on with the SEC. Right, so all of the proof, all the documents are here. There we go. You guys can pause the video and take a look. And the question is, guys, the big question, what does this all mean? Well, for American taxpayers, unfortunately, this is coming straight from our pockets. The sanctions imposed against the SEC are monetary, so the SEC will be forced to pay the legal fees and the court costs of both the debt box and the receiver, which is the third party the court appointed to manage the company. And it is unclear how much these bills will add up, but because the SEC is a taxpayer-funded agency, these monetary sanctions will come from the agency's 2024 budget, which is from the taxpayer. So unfortunately, this sanction is indirectly affecting American taxpayers as well, which is obviously what we don't want and is unjustified. The SEC basically just forced a bill on American taxpayers for their own unlawfulness. Once again, guys, even more corruption from the SEC. But this is why this is also good. Congress is finalizing the SEC's 2024 budget this week, and this is a new big cost that will eat into the already fixed budget, which means that the SEC will likely have to get more money from either cutting programs at the agency or asking Congress for supplemental money to cover it. The funding deadline is this week, Friday. So hopefully the SEC can't get access to extra funds. This would mean a decrease in activity as they start cutting programs. And with the SEC juggling so many lawsuits and only a limited budget, we should see conclusions coming to the lawsuits, an end, as the SEC can't afford it. So right now we have a lot of lawsuits going on. We have Ripple, Binance, Coinbase, and so on. These guys are juggling a ton of lawsuits. And they can't financially support it. So these are all big things. We have from Patrick McHenry. He says, Chair Gary Gensler's enforcement team misconduct will have broad implications on the SEC authority beyond his crypto crusade. So as we said, guys, Gary Gensler, the 33rd chairman, we have the 33 Freemasons. We should see him getting fired from his position, all parts of the plan. That would be another pre-planned event, just like the Ripple versus SEC case. Gensler requested more funding for enforcement last year. Now, a judge calls out the SEC's abusive and deceptive legal practices. So based on Patrick McHenry's tweets, we should see Congress denying money to the SEC. Now, we also have Empower filing a new lawsuit against the SEC because of its refusal to comply with FOIA. We have the SEC's failure to comply with a Freedom of Information Act request seeking documents related to cryptocurrency conflicts of interest at the agency. So first off, this is another lawsuit, right, which is obviously good for us, bad for the SEC. More proof that we should see the other lawsuits coming to an end. And the SEC is hiding a ton of information relating to cryptocurrency. So we have more corrupt activities happening with the SEC. We have from Sean McBride, who is an ex-Google, ex-Amazon, and ex-Ripple employee. He talks about the SEC sanction, and with the SEC getting a sanction at the same time, we actually saw a price spike for XRP as well, where we saw XRP going all the way up to 66 cents. So this shows, guys, that this is a good thing for XRP. And we will see stablecoin legislations happening this year. Crypto regulations happening right around the corner. We have MiCA happening as well, which is regulations for the EU. In 2016, we have a poll indicating that 90% of the payment industry professionals in the EU anticipate that blockchain technology will impact payments by 2025. And we have our entire timeline here. We have from 2023 to 2026. 2026 is the end of the timeline and the top of the market as well, based on the XRP Rillers. We have the regulatory framework plan from 2023 to 2026. We have policy on regulatory development from the Treasury Board of Canada. And Basel Committee endorses global crypto banking rules to be implemented by 2025. We have the Basel Committee also confirming 2025. And when all this happens, guys, we will see 99% of all cryptocurrencies going away, as set by Brad Garlinghouse. We have Brad on why ICOs are corrupt.
I surprise you a little bit on that. I think it mostly is bad.
Okay.
I mean, there are exceptions, but to every rule, there's an exception. So I think, look, I'm not popular for saying this in the crypto community. Ripple has often taken a contrarian viewpoint in working with the banks and working with governments. I think a lot of the ICOs, and I would say, certainly over half and maybe as many 90+% of these ICOs, I don't understand what the real use case is of the token. And if there's not a real use case, it's really a securities offering. And if it's a securities offering, there's not regulatory uncertainty. It should be regulated as a securities offering. So, look, I recognize that many people may disagree with that, but some people forget why regulations have evolved in the securities issuance. It's because there was a lot of fraud. There was a lot of people taking advantage and preying upon investors. In some ways, what's happening with ICOs is making angel investing more accessible. Well, angel investing has historically been, hey, someone I know and someone I trust is building a business, and I want to invest in that. But when I hear someone in Bangkok buying an ICO for a company in Miami that is doing who knows what, I think, how do you know that they're not going to take all of that value in their ICO and go surfing for the next 3 years?
Well, I mean, I think there were some really recent numbers that came out of Bitcoin.com or Bitcoin News that said that of 900 ICOs since the beginning of 2017, 46 have failed. 46% have failed, meaning that either they failed to raise the money, or the companies went under after they raised the money.
Or the company had already gone under, and they raised the money anyway.
And they raised the money anyways, and that another 13% are near failure, meaning that they've raised money, and then all of a sudden they've closed down their website, shut off communications, and are not responding to investors anymore. So we're talking about a 59% garbage rate. So I understand that the great majority of ICOs are garbage. I think there are probably a lot of advocates in the community that feel the same way, that there are a number of bad actors. Do you feel that, does that negative sentiment also apply to the process or concept of ICOs, meaning using, finding a way to digitize, the capital markets?